It's May 28th, 2020, and we are live with hotel management company CEOs, partners, all of that kind of good stuff, Anthony. I think we're really going to be getting into it big time today.
Are we live?
Are we? All right, it's Thursday. We're getting close to the end of the weekend. Boy, I can't wait for this weekend now that it's a fake summer season as we wait for official summer to start. Anthony, how are you feeling today? I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I started off this week kind of, but now I'm feeling in the zone today.
I'm starting to feel like it's summer and, again, having kids at home, everybody wants to move. So we're starting to let them little by little move outside the house. So it's interesting. And listen, I'm very fortunate that we live near the ocean, so I'm taking my morning walks.
Yeah, you certainly are. Also, Anthony's planning a big trip out to a fast food restaurant this afternoon for your daughter. So that's pretty exciting, but not as exciting as a great PR scheme that I saw in the news, Anthony, yesterday. It was a big deal, splash all over the place, and I couldn't help but think of you. I couldn't help but think of the martini with the diamonds in it, and that thing that you did when you were at the Algonquin, because it's got that same kind of vibe.
What did you see? Tell me what you saw.
All right. Derek Stevens, I don't know if you all know him. He is the guy who's in downtown Las Vegas. He created the D Hotel. He bought the Golden Gate Hotel. He's building a big resort downtown right now called Circa. And what he did yesterday is he announced 1,000 free flights to Vegas to get people to come to his hotel. So popular. All of that sold out within 2 hours. Added another 700 flights to it. When you start to do the calculus of how much it cost, the press that he is going to get is so far beyond what they spent.
You know what? I didn't know about that, and that's the first time I'm hearing about it, and it's genius. What did it cost him? He probably worked the deal with the flight. With the airline, it's probably costing $500 a ticket.
I'd say less because it's only one way he's doing. They don't necessarily tell you that right out. It's not in the headline grabbing thing, but it's only one way. So if you took advantage of it, you'd have to play your
$30,000. He's a hero,
right? Exactly, $30,000, whatever it might be, right? How great is that? Just getting coverage in all of these publications and online is going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s.
And he's probably got $1 billion worth of investment. So, for 20, 30 grand for him, it's 100% worth it. And that's what we're talking about every single day. We're talking about being creative, thinking out of the box, getting people's attention. Listen, I've spoke to 3 people this morning, and all three people are starting to move, and all people are starting to travel.
Right.
So maybe you and I should take advantage of that.
Maybe we should, and we're still working on trying to figure that out. But before we take advantage of that, we're going to take advantage of these great minds that we have joining us today. So let's bring them in. Of course, everybody knows our good friend Chris Green, President and CEO over at Chesapeake Hospitality, joining us for the first time in our live show, but he's been in our Checking In with Anthony and Glenn podcast, Mr. Julian Buffam, partner at Newcastle Hotels and Resorts. Welcome, guys. Great to see you here today.
Awesome to be here.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Anthony. Great to be here as well.
Julian, can I give them a little bit of a backstory of what we talked about off screen about where you're living now, or am I allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, no, go for it. Go for it.
We were just talking about 18 years ago. I was looking in the paper and I was looking at buying some real estate, and I saw a townhouse in Harlem for $125,000. Now, a townhouse in Harlem about $3, $4, $5 million. And Julian has a very fortunate opportunity to live up in Harlem right now in a townhouse. And that's why that beautiful ornate background he has, I was admiring as soon as he got on. And so how's Harlem, man?
It's amazing. We moved up here in August. We're looking for more space. We were down in Hudson Yards before, so, polar opposites essentially, but we did want to stay in the city, wanted more space, started checking out Harlem, checked out Brooklyn, a lot of different neighborhoods, and just really loved, the vibe up in Harlem, the opportunities that we saw, and we ended up finding a house that the estate was selling. Unfortunately, the owner had passed away, but she just had a tremendous reputation in the community, and so we got to know her family members quite well, and it was quite an emotional, kind of transition, but they were very happy when we finally kind of took the property and moved in and made it home. They're very happy for us, and we're thrilled too. It's great space, we've kind of lived in it for the past, 8 months. There are a few things we need to do here and there. Had to repair the roof. Yesterday realized there were some carpenter bees digging into our back window. So home ownership is a challenge, but it's definitely rewarding.
So what kind of rate and occupancy are you getting currently up there?
100%.
I could
Right?
test it out on Airbnb. We do rent our garden level out, which is a great source of income for us. But yeah, not a lot of hotels up in Harlem actually.
No, that's probably good for you. Hey, let's start with some good news here. Jamie Walicki says, woohoo, we sold 5 rooms. This is exciting. I know it's only 5 rooms, but Chris Green, I'm really starting to feel now, we've been talking about it for a couple of weeks, that we felt like we understood the rules of the game. Things were starting to bubble up. I'm finally feeling like we're crossing a threshold now. How are you seeing it in what you're seeing at your hotels and within your organization?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I before we came on, I was talking about that I was fired up today again. Star data came out. Our portfolio was up 1.7% last week. So we're starting to see it move almost to 20% for the week last week, which again, it's crazy to say that, but we were down at 13 at the bottom. So getting close to 20 is great. I've got some markets though near airports where we're moving 40 and 50% at full service hotels, which is not the norm right now. So I can certainly feel the energy. And like we talked about Tuesday, we're starting to bring some associates back, which is a huge positive momentum for all of the people at the hotels. The skeleton crews have been running the hotels for 75 days now. So getting some new team members back with them has been really energizing to them and to us as a company. So I think we're moving.
Good. Julian, I want to hear what you have to say too, but Anthony, woohoo, another person sold out last night. Of course they had 16 rooms out of order. Who cares? Las Vegas does that all the time. They'll take entire floors out of commission and then say they're sold out. Don't worry about it, Christy.
Listen, I think people were surprised with everybody going to zero, obviously, but I think people are going to be surprised with the leisure market. I mean, people I'm talking to who are very hyper conservative, hyper aware of coronavirus are now wanting to go on vacation. I mean, these are people that literally didn't leave their house for 2.5 months, didn't go to the grocery store, have everything delivered, are very, very nervous about everything. And now it's like, I'm ready to go. So I think our leisure market, I think the rates to occupancies on the weekends, you're going to see it crushing. I think your sales teams have a very big opportunity and a big uphill battle for corporate business. But I think from a leisure standpoint, I think we're going to be in good shape this summer.
Julian, what's the report going on at Newcastle?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. We're definitely seeing that. Markets like Charleston, Jekyll Island, these drive-to destinations. There's just been so much pent-up demand. We're absolutely seeing a surge. Jekyll Island, our Westin there on the beach, we just reopened last week, in time for Memorial Day weekend, and it sold out. We only opened to 75% capacity just to really try to keep, people able to keep their distance and social distancing intact. But it was sold out. So the demand was absolutely there. And I believe when we are able to open up to 100% occupancy, it'll fill up quite quickly. Obviously there are other markets, your urban markets, heavy group destinations, more corporate focused. New Orleans is an example for us. Lexington, Kentucky is an example. Downtown, it's still a tough go at it. Sub 10% occupancy, and there's more room to grow there. So other markets, Saratoga Springs is an example. Unfortunately, kind of drive to leisure market you'd think would see a surge in visitation, but it's so heavily reliant on summer visits and the racetrack. Unfortunately, those races are probably only going to be virtual this year. They will not have actual attendees. So that's going to be a big hit there. So I think you got to look at it asset by asset. I think the leisure dynamic is absolutely true. But we're also seeing some good success up in Canada and the Maritimes with some oil and gas business. A lot of these companies, are having to sequester or quarantine their employees for 14 days. They're checking into our hotel, literally not leaving their rooms, don't need the rooms to be cleaned. So believe it or not, our Canadian portfolio has actually done quite well. And despite maybe doing half of the revenue that we were budgeting, we're actually able to meet our bottom line budget because operationally it was a skeleton staff. It was a completely different operation than what you'd normally do. And so that's been kind of interesting. And I think, the combination of understanding quickly demand is going to come back, combined with positive operating leverage and changing the dynamic on operations is going to be important for all the operators and owners out there to try and get their EBITDA back up to 19 levels quicker than revenues are going to return, because we're seeing most firms are suggesting 2023, 2024 for that RevPAR return to 19 levels. So that's concerning.
Yeah. Glenn, Julian brings up a great point, and I think this is another way to take the RevPAR discussion further down the chain. The drive-to markets are having success, but only the drive-to markets that have something to do that is not event-driven, that allows you to social distance, like the beach or parks or hiking or bike riding. But like stuff where you wouldn't normally drive to a market to go to a football game, or like I'm thinking like Tallahassee, Florida, right? I mean, the draw there is Florida State. If there's no game, then you see it in the background. But if there's no games, then it's a drive-to market, but nobody's going because there's no beach.
Right. Right. That makes a lot of sense. All right, guys. What I want to do real quick right now is we have another guest that is going to be joining us. But before we bring him in, I think he's going to add great to this conversation. I do want to say, hey, have you guys out there, do you like playing poker? Do you think you could play poker better than Anthony? I think now is the time for you to drop us a line so you can play poker against Anthony live on air on June 3rd at 8 p.m. Just drop us a line at pokerwithanthony.com. That's pokerwithanthony@gmail.com. Sorry, pokerwithanthony@gmail.com. Let us know you're interested. Get to play with great people, maybe even play against Chris Green. But let's bring in right now Sanjay Patel of MHG Hotels. Sanjay, welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Glenn. How's everybody? Hope everyone's doing well.
We are doing well.
Great,
yes.
Great.
We're doing even better now that you're here. We just got an update from Chris. We got an update from Julian. Curious as to an update on what's going on with your business. As our thesis is, we feel that the return is more palatable. It's real. We're starting to see things go in the right direction. We're seeing consumer sentiment change. Are you seeing the same things? What are you experiencing at your properties in Indianapolis? Indiana, I should say.
Yes, no, we're experiencing the same thing. We are seeing the occupancy creeping up slowly on a weekly basis, week over week, and ADR is a concern of ours. But I think as occupancy increases, I think we'll see increase in ADR as well. But I think we got a long road ahead of us here. I don't think we're in my opinion, I don't think we'll see 2019 anytime soon. But we're going in the right direction, so that's a positive.
Right, and that's what we want to talk about, is going in the right direction and how we could all achieve that. Anthony, you want to jump in there?
Well, I think the hotels that were ready and prepared and taking this 2 months to really prepare for their influx, I think those are the people you're going to see continue to drive average rate and occupancy. And you will see a major decline in competition that gets bad comments about hygiene. Whereas before, if you had bad service and you had good service, the bad service hotels were maybe down 10%. I think if you're getting negative comments about how you're handling this crisis coming back, you're going to be at zero and everybody else is going to be sold out. So if you've taken this time for the last couple of months to really prepare, you're going to be in good shape. I think that's my opinion.
Yes.
Do you agree?
I agree.
I think Chris agrees. Right, Chris? Because you've been really preparing all this time.
I do. I'm sorry, my eye got caught, and I shouldn't be doing that. But I just noticed an Expedia update email came out that's offering a bunch of credits to partners from their 2019 revenues to rebook. So things are starting to roll. People are feeling that momentum, and they're applying effort towards it. You can see it in marketing that's coming out. And to Julian's point, by the way, his property in Jekyll Island is a great property. They have great property, but to Julian's point,
Westin, correct?
The Westin Oceanfront, Jekyll Island. Yeah.
It's a gorgeous hotel.
Yeah.
To Julian's point, though, listen, at this point, we've gotten down to where all the hotels should be practicing great sanitation. We know what people are expecting. Truth be told, I went out last weekend with my son. We go away every Memorial Day, and we went fishing. And I stopped overnight in a Fairfield Inn, and they did an amazing job. And I was not near anybody. I was not close to the desk agent. I was not close to other guests. My room was clean. I felt great about it. So I think getting out is.
When you went in the room, did you sanitize, or did you felt like they made enough visual cues to make you feel safe?
I did not. I looked around. I looked at what the team was doing. I felt really good about it. We got there late, so I didn't use the remote or anything, but I felt good about the way the hotel handled themselves. And I think you'll see that in 95% of the properties in the US. So that should encourage people that you can start, if you're allowed in your state, go out and be safe. So, and we hope you do, all of us.
Well, New York is starting to open up. Long Island just opened up.
Yes, we did.
How's it look in Long Island right now, Glenn?
It looks exactly the same as it did the last few days because I still haven't gone anywhere.
When are you going? When are you going?
No, I did actually go to the supermarket the other day, and while I haven't been out and about and going to a lot of different places, I did notice a major uptick in cars on the road. So I'm feeling as if people are craving that sense of normalcy and are doing their part to get back to feeling that way.
We may be taking a business trip soon, so hopefully that will happen.
Fingers crossed.
Listen, I think it's time to go. And again, you have to be safe. But I really think, when you look back 2 months ago and how dark and bleak everything looked, and now that people are feeling that they're going to travel this summer, I really think this summer has the potential in some markets to be the best summer in the history of that market. Is that an overstatement, you think?
No, I agree. Julian, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, the rate piece is the piece that we're, struggling with a little bit in terms of our forecasting. We're definitely trying to be as conservative as possible because everyone's in cash preservation mode and trying to preserve liquidity to be able to weather the storm should this be more of a 18, 24 36 month horizon. But so Jekyll Island, for an example, our rate wasn't where it was budgeted when it sold out at the 75% capacity, but was it at healthy levels? Yeah, it sure was. And I think we'll be able to push that into the summer as people build more confidence and get more comfortable. Absolutely.
And I would imagine you didn't have the same muscle going into setting your rates as you did, a year ago. So if you had to do it over again, you had hindsight's 2020, you probably would have built your rates higher. And as you got closer, you would have been them higher, higher and higher. And that's kind of what this weekend did. It gave us the ability to realize, okay, we can build rate. It was probably the lack of rate was probably not demand. It was probably not lack of, but just like, hey, where's our threshold? Where's our pressure point? And I think now that you found it, the following weeks will be even better.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. There are a lot of opportunities out there. We're finding opportunities in digital marketing, where you used to have a ton of traffic, right, and not as much visibility. Now with every dollar ad spend, you're getting a lot more traction and visibility just because there's not as much traffic on the Facebooks, the social media sites. A lot of corporations, a lot of businesses have cut back. So I think there's a nice window here where with some pretty targeted ad spend, you can generate some great results, and we definitely saw that up in Canada, a few of our assets where we did some Easter F&B grab and go offerings, and just there was a ton of traffic and great responses via social media. So I think that's an opportunity for folks as well.
Excellent. Sanjay, I got a question for you, sir.
Sure.
Any anecdotal evidence from your guests that show whether or not you're doing what they expect when it comes to creating that clean and comfortable environment where they can feel secure?
The guests are just now starting to come back. As I said, it's building up slowly. But I think as time goes, time will tell us what our guests are expecting. I think some of the things are probably going to change for good for our limited service hotels, such as breakfast. How would you do a breakfast where it might be grab and go?
It probably will.
I don't know. So some of those things, how the distance at the check-in desk and so forth. So I think there may be some changes that is coming permanently. That's what I see. I don't know, but
But I'm curious. Are you hearing from any of your associates at your hotels that are accepting guests that they feel good about what you've done to make them feel comfortable, like Chris felt comfortable at a Fairfield? And I think about that because you own multiple Fairfields.
Right. No, our guests feel pretty comfortable with what we do, and that's the feedback we're getting from our associates. We just brought in all of our associates. That we furloughed a couple of months ago. We just actually brought them all back this week.
Right.
So I mean, the feelings are good, and the guests are, guests are happy. I mean, with what we're doing, and that's what we're hearing from our associates as well. And more importantly, our associates are happy.
Right.
As
Talking
well.
about bringing back your associates, that brings us finally. I've been wanting to get this point in from Carlos Alcala. What we're noticing is many furlough team members don't want to come back right now. They're enjoying unemployment payments and trying to ride it out. Ooh, that's a lot of head nodding over there. Sanjay, maybe you could address it real quick, and then we'll hear from the other guys.
I think probably about 70% of people who we furloughed came back. The other 30 did not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously the unemployment is there, and I don't know how that's going to play out, but I think 70% people return back to work. That's a pretty good number, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Julian?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, certainly, in the U.S. and Canada, you're competing against the government because of obviously the unemployment rate that's being paid. It's dependent on states exactly what people will get, but then there's also that I think $600 supplement. So it's quite a bit of income that if you're making less than call it $45,000 at work, you may second guess, going back to work, certainly when the environment is still not, 100% risk free of COVID exposure. So can understand kind of the predicament, people are in, and certainly on our end, it becomes challenging. I think, that's where you kind of, emphasize, culture, above all. I mean, we're lucky that we've had a lot of long tenured, associates that have been with us for 15, 20, some cases 30, 40 years. So these individuals they love to work. I mean, yes, it's about, providing for their families and making a salary, but more than anything, they love the hospitality industry and they love the company. So that has allowed us to, I think, retain employees probably better than we would have otherwise, because to your point, you are competing with the government, and it's a tough position for folks.
And with occupancies being what they are, and it's going to take a while to get back there, and with people not wanting housekeeping every day, 70% of your employees coming back is probably full employment for your hotel as far as what you're needing.
Right.
Well, I think, Anthony, we're working on our return to work plans for all our hotels, and we're mostly full service, like Julian, and I unfortunately, with the slow curve up, we're not going to be, bringing back all of our associates anytime soon. And as much as I hate that, it's just a fact. We're going to be looking at, between 30 to 50% occupancy at the rest of the year. And so when I had 140 employees at a hotel, I'm just not going to need that. A lot of that's
So how does
F&B.
the PPP money work then? And what do you do with the PPP money? You give it back?
Well, a lot of our owners have not taken PPP money at this point because it's not effective for them.
Right.
We have some hotels in major urban markets, like Julian was talking about, where the amount that could be forgiven was about 7% of the total of the loan. So at that point, it's just not effective. Now,
Sanjay,
there's a vote today. There's a vote today, and if that vote goes through and we can extend to the end of the year, that's a whole different story.
Right.
That's a different ballgame.
So Sanjay, I would imagine you took the PPP money and you had to get your employees back to work?
Correct. Yeah, we did take our PPP money, and as Chris said, if it gets extended until the end of the year, then that would be just much better for us.
Yeah, but if you brought them back, would you lay them off again, or would you keep them on?
We're hoping that especially with these summer months coming up, our hotels are, for an example, we have a hotel near a racetrack in Indianapolis. We have a courtyard there at the racetrack, and Indy 500, and we have many races there, and Indy 500 didn't get canceled. They moved it from May to August. So hoping all those events, some of the conventions in Indianapolis market got canceled. Most of them got rescheduled.
Right. But the way the system's set up now is basically the government forced you to bring the employees back, even if you didn't need them, just so you didn't have to give the PPP money back. Correct?
That is correct. And also, some of the events that are coming back at the markets that we're in, we're starting to see some booking pace in July. So we're hoping that we're and our hotels are smaller hotels, Fairfields, Courtyards. So I think we should be okay. We won't be at 2019 by any means, but I think it'll start seeing uptick in coming weeks.
One of the things that I'm seeing some confusion in, and Gary puts it into a very clear question. If you're asked to come back, and get employed, and you say no, how can you still collect unemployment? This seems to be an issue that we're going back and forth with a lot. So you can't, right? So why are people saying no if they have an opportunity to come back? Do they just not know that, or how's that all work? Anyone have any thoughts?
It really depends on if the employer is going to, answer that question with the unemployment commission, because at this point you're going to make a decision to, maybe it's a long-term employee and they've said not to come back. Then you do have a responsibility to notify that they were offered work and turned it down, and that can limit their benefits for sure. And that's a tough decision to make as an employer when a lot of this is not on them. This wasn't caused by them. So,
right.
Hey, Glenn, can we ask the question that Steven is asking?
Yeah, dude. There are so many good questions today, right? Oh, my goodness. I want to get to the one from Jason, too. But Steven asked, with limited amenities available and the hotel as we reopen, what are you folks telling your front desk to say to guests when they start to question guest amenity fees on their bill? If that's even a thing. Julian?
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, guest amenity fees.
Welcome to the gauntlet.
Resort fees? Is that what we're talking about?
No, basically what we're saying is your amenities have been reduced, and there's going to still be some charges on your bill that reflect amenities like breakfast that are in full service. But when you initially made your reservation, you were getting a free complimentary breakfast, and now you're getting a bag with a donut and and a slap on a tushy. So basically, there are going to be some amenities that aren't there, like everyday cleaning service. Like before, if you didn't put the do not disturb sign on, you got service every day. So I think that's the motivation of the question.
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I think there's always going to be those guests that are those guests, right? I think.
No, wait, hold on. Let me challenge you. Let me challenge you. It's not those guests. The guests have a right. So let's think about this, okay? You think you can come on the show and make it easy for you? No way. No, hold on a second.
Welcome.
The guests had an expectation of housekeeping every day, breakfast every day. Those things are gone. The gym is closed. The pool is closed. You're still charging me the same rate. I want an adjustment. And if you don't answer this question the right way, Julian, you can't work at my front desk. Go.
Yeah, I hear you. I think, quite frankly, what's mitigated that kind of reaction, at least in our portfolio, because I've not heard any really negative stories like that. I've actually heard the exact opposite. I've heard a lot of positive stories about the appreciation that the guests are showing with how above and beyond the front desk staff have been going to keep their distance, to create a smooth kind of experience and safe experience for guests to check in and out of the hotel. I mean, lots and lots of notes left to our front desk agents thanking them for their professionalism in that regard. And I think, the access to the pool, it's like a nice to have, but people recognize this is, we're still in a health emergency, pandemic, and people are just doing what they can.
And I think as long as you do that from a service perspective, that's going to be the majority of people. But Chris, how do you deal with, or Sanjay, how do you deal with a guest that isn't like, I appreciate everything you're doing, but hey, I want a discount because the pool's closed, the gym's closed, I didn't get breakfast the way I thought I'd get breakfast. How do you handle that?
To me, go ahead, Sanjay, go ahead.
Uh-oh. I can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
There you are. He's back.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that. Most of the guests are understanding, and like Julian said, they're really appreciative of what our associates do in this pandemic. And, the pool is closed, the breakfast is limited, or grab and go breakfast, but the guests are very understanding. And, this is the world we live in today. And I think everybody's being understanding. And so that's, actually, they're being really appreciative of what, at least the pool is closed, but it's for everybody's betterment and better health. And so I think they're understanding.
Right. And of course, there's always sorry, Chris, go for it.
Something has definitely changed. I mean, something has changed about the American psyche, because we've all we've seen on the news for months and months now is sanitation and social distancing, and I haven't heard anybody say anything. I mean, honestly, nobody wants to go to the gym right now. They may want to go to the gym, but they're not going to go to a hotel gym right now. Right. They may start expecting that here in the near future. I know you do, Anthony.
I would,
but you would take your wipes with you, right? So you would have all your wipes. I know,
100%. And then I would jump in a bowl of Lysol, but I would do it.
Yeah. So, but the one thing I was going to say is we're working hard on pre-arrival. Pre-arrival notification. We have time now. So when you're doing 20 and 30%, basically, listen, you just got to let everybody know pre-arrival. No pool, no gym, limited service breakfast of any kind is grab and go only.
But would you give
gotta
a
let them know.
discount to the guest that pushed? The guest that was like, I'm upset. I want 20% discount.
I haven't had anybody. I haven't had anybody do
I'm not
it.
asking if you had. As an employee, am I empowered to do that?
Of course you are. Of course you are. Our people are employed. Empowered at Chesapeake. That's part of it, right? You got to give them the power to make the guest completely satisfied.
Okay, good.
Right.
Yeah. And
Did I pass, Anthony? Did I pass?
Hopefully you guys won't have to deal with any crazy folks like the woman at Disney Springs on the day that they opened that was dissatisfied that they weren't selling the food she wanted, so she set up a barbecue and started grilling hot dogs and was offended that she couldn't grill with open flames on private property.
Well,
hopefully you won't have to deal with that. Yeah.
In order to ensure our lawyers don't get lawsuits on our behalf, you mean the woman who had a different opinion? She was not crazy. She just had a different opinion.
Sure. Speaking of legal stuff, I do want to mention Sanjay Patel and I had gotten together over a particular issue. Sanjay, you ready to talk about the insurance issue that you're having over there?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So let's set this up for people. So Sanjay's businesses were interrupted, as in a lot of other people's. Now, the insurance company is saying that they don't want to pay. Boy, oh boy, why do you have business interruption insurance if they don't want to pay? What's your situation specifically, Sanjay?
But that's going on for the whole country, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's why I wanted to have him on, because he's not the only hotelier that's experiencing this problem, or restaurateur or whatever. Yeah,
I'm sure Chris, Julian, everybody involved in our industry and restaurant industry, and
they just shut down last night. Real quick, Sanjay. Last night they shut down all the lights in Times Square as to come together for the restaurant community in New York City that they're not getting their insurance covered because of this event. And they shut down, I think, for a minute, all the lights in Times Square.
Yeah. In other news, pickpocketing went up 500% in Times Square last
night. I was reading some news somewhere here a couple of days ago that 25% of restaurants that they close will never open. Now, those 25% of restaurants that close will never open, they have paid for their business interruption policy. And this insurance policies, if you read through those, it's very unclear. Some policies mention virus. Virus where? In the hotel, outside the hotel, associate getting virus, guest getting virus, what? No one knows. So it's very unclear. So we filed a claim back in March 23rd is when we filed the claim. I got a phone call back from our adjuster, and within the first 2 minutes into the call, I was denied the claim for business interruption, and said no, we don't cover. This is not covered. So we went back and looked at our policy, but it is so unclear, and I was not given a proper answer to why it was not. So they acted in a bad faith, basically. The guy who called me did not do any material investigations or none of that. He just says, no, it's not covered. And that's for everybody, right? So I just don't know why. The policy does not say that pandemic is not covered. It is really loose language in there. So in our opinion, it should be covered.
So are you in a lawsuit with them right now?
Absolutely we are. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. And you're claiming losses of what, $20 million or something like that? Is that correct, Sanjay? Sanjay's frozen.
The number so big he froze.
That's all right. He's just really shocked at the insurance company
Julian
that would
and
do
Chris,
that. Yeah.
What are you doing with your business interruption insurance? Are you fighting it?
We're still, ours are still open. We're still talking through our policies. We're not at a denial yet. So, we're going to have to see where it goes.
Same here. What we're trying to do is obviously track and make sure we're tracking, all the losses that we can clearly pin, on COVID, and make sure that, we're accounting for that. so that when we do, file a claim, or when there is a little bit of a larger kind of industry-wide consensus of how to deal with this, we can be kind of well prepared to manage that process. But yeah, I think it's going to be obviously a wider kind of industry-wide, discussion, because everyone's in the same boat.
Yeah.
Can I just say, Glenn, the comments are on fire today. I mean,
on fire.
I'm just fascinated reading. Everybody's got some really bright opinions on here on some stuff, it's just such a good business. You should be reading these comments if you're not. Everybody, this is great stuff back and forth.
Well, you know what? Because now we're getting into the real deal. We're getting into business. We're getting into what are we going to do? We're seeing customers. So we're starting to move. We're not talking about what ifs. We're talking about, okay, this is what's happening. We have tangible things to deal with. And I think, people in our business are tired of being tired. They want to go. And I think that they're like, okay, I think this program brings a lot of good information. And if they're seeing that we're talking about 50, 60% occupancies on the weekends, 70% occupancies on the weekends, they're excited. So am I. But if, in reference to the business interruption insurance, I believe that there will be a huge lawsuit, and that eventually I think we're going to have to see one insurance company start to pay out. And then maybe you'll see another insurance company. This is the way, to me, to build legacy if you're an insurance company. Yes, it's a lot of money. And yes, there's going to be tremendous losses for this year. But you're going to, from an insurance standpoint, but you're going to build a legacy, especially if you're a small company, with generational wealth people to stay around forever. That during the pandemic, they helped us out. If you turn your back now, everyone's going to be shopping. And you're going to have to eventually give it to them. All insurance policies now are going to have pandemic insurance, or why would you pay for it?
Right. Well, and the dam's going to break when somebody pays. I mean, that's what we're tracking is,
right.
I don't know of anybody that's received BI yet. And I have a good network of fellow CEOs. But when the dam breaks, the dam's going to break. And I don't see how it can't, because as Sanjay was saying, the policies are a little unspecific surrounding pandemics and viruses. So there's going to be lawsuits, and something's going to give here.
Well, Catherine just said business interruption has to be a result of physical loss buried deep in the terms, it says. Is that what you're hearing?
I mean, I think the terms, Catherine's probably right on a lot of the different, but if you look at the details of each policy, they're different. They're slightly different. It just depends on what's written in and when it was written. Some of our policies are older. So.
Yeah.
What are you finding, Julian? What are you finding?
Yeah, we've got a team in the risk department kind of managing that process. But yeah, I think there's, whether it falls under, pollution or what part of the policy it falls under, I'm not exactly sure. But unfortunately, Sanjay's point was true. It's just there's a lot of vague language, and that makes it difficult. So it's something that we're just monitoring closely and making sure we're taking the right procedures to be able to monitor and track those losses if we get to the point where we feel like filing a claim can be successful.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is that insurance companies will not pay, because, as Chris was saying, if they pay once, then that dam is going to break, and then they're going to have to pay for absolutely everyone. And while it would be great to take the attitude that that Anthony is saying, that they should just pay everyone and take the big hit, I don't think that insurance companies have enough cash on hand in order to pay out all the claims that are being made currently. If they were to try to pay out all those claims, they'd have nothing left. They'd be broke. They wouldn't be able to satisfy any of them, and they're going to be out of business.
So let me ask you a question. Don't they have insurance?
They do.
Yeah, probably the federal government. Right. It always goes back to the federal government. That's why I'm happy we have people like Chip Rogers and Cecil Staten working for us.
And I was talking more about the small insurance companies. You're right. I understand. Listen, from a business perspective, I completely understand. But there are companies right now that are doing the right thing, even at their loss. There are companies on the brink of going out of business because they're doing the right thing. Chris's company has done the right thing, and if it went on much longer, they would be in trouble. They would have to make some really tough decisions. So now is the time. Are you going to build your insurance policy for the future by taking care of your customers? And again, everyone's got to make that decision, and I'm oversimplifying it, so I don't mean to do that. So thanks for backing that up, Glenn. I don't mean to oversimplify it.
Right. Producer Jeff says insurance companies are not in the business of paying out. That's absolutely absolutely correct, Jeff. I like it. Sanjay, we've been having a furious back and forth conversation on this issue since you left. Anything else that you want to add to the whole notion of insurance and what's going on with that market?
Yeah, I don't know what I missed here. I just lost.
It's all right.
I lost the power.
It was genius. What we said was absolute genius. You should go back and replay it.
I will. But I think I know a couple of folks. For an example, I think there's a class action lawsuit getting filed in Atlanta. Some hoteliers are filing a class action, and I think eventually when more and more people get together and start to understand and with their policy and figure out that, look, these companies, the insurance companies, are denying this claim, but they don't have a ground to stand on. Why are they denying? We don't know. The policies does not say that it's not covered. So I think as more and more people read that, I think it's going to become a bigger problem for them. And I think in coming weeks and months, I think there will be more and more companies will be seeking a legal action for that.
I wonder if are there, and I don't know anything about this, but are there cases where you're offered pandemic insurance, but the premiums were so high that people didn't pay for it? I mean, do people get offered that, Glenn? I want to ask you because you're the smartest person I know.
No, I don't believe there is. If people have pandemic insurance, it lists all of the things in there that says that it doesn't cover. And I've read some articles in regards to facts that they've had insurance that didn't cover specific types, but other types of COVID were listed in there. And insurance companies are now trying to conflate previous strains of this virus with the current strain of the virus.
That's ridiculous.
But
right.
Besides that, you got to remember that it's not the virus that also causes a business. It's a mandatory shutdown. Government shutdown.
Right.
That has these restaurants going out of business. It's not because of the virus. They don't have a virus in the restaurants, or we don't have a virus in our hotels. It is a mandatory shutdown by the government that is causing us the loss of business. Right. So I mean, the language in a policy is not clear at all. And,
no, but the language in your complaint in regards to that matter in particular was very specific. I found it fascinating.
To your point, the government should be able to back that up because you're right. Like my friend's gym went out of business and they're done. They're not opening up because the landlord wouldn't work with them, but they were literally not allowed to open. So if you're not allowed to open, the government should be able to back you up. And if the insurance claim isn't being paid, they got to back up the insurance claim. Because if I had a business right now that I had a gym and I had to close it and I am not allowed to open it, how in God's name should I lose my business because there's a decision made that I can't control?
Especially when you made a decision to get the insurance to prevent that from happening. Sanjay, please.
Right. I mean, when we bought this insurance, we all buy business interruption insurance, and when we got the policy, we asked our broker, say, are we covered? I mean, do we have, if we lose business, are we covered?
Right. Yep. He's frozen again.
No, this is. I mean, Julian's probably really familiar with this too, but I do a lot of business in Florida and the East Coast, and hurricanes. I mean, basically, BI kicks in hurricanes when the government requires mandatory evacuation. So that's basically a similar situation to what we're talking about now. The government mandated no operation, nobody could travel. So it's very similar to a hurricane evacuation type scenario.
Yeah, exactly right. In Jekyll Island, I mean, the past 3 years, we've filed business interruption claims because the causeway over to Jekyll Island has been closed because of because of a storm that was approaching, and luckily no damage, but certainly business interruption for a period of 5, 6, sometimes a few weeks.
You know what? And these are the questions as we're opening up. We're going to be hearing, and we're going to have an insurance expert on. Glenn, that would be amazing to have insurance companies. They're not going to come on. They're not going to give you a perspective. Just like the OTAs, it's challenging to have them on. But at this moment, I'm going to step out, gentlemen, because I have something I need to do, and I'm going to leave you in the good, quality hands of Glenn Houseman. Can you handle it?
No, especially not after saying that I'm in good quality hands. All right, but we're going to try. I don't know if I can handle hosting a show on my own. Anthony,
I got to go fight with my insurance company.
Go fight with your insurance company. Go make sure everything's taken care of. He's got to get prepared for a 2 p.m. webinar he's hosting. If you haven't had a chance to register for that, it's not too late, right, Anthony?
And Julian, I hear you have a nice place I can hang out in Harlem when I need it.
Oh, pay me a visit. Absolutely. We'll do
How far are you from Sylvia's?
From Sylvia's on 125th, right? So I'm 15 blocks.
How about Apollo? How far are you from Apollo?
Also similar. Yeah, 15 blocks.
All right, I'll come up and see you, brother. All right, thanks, everyone.
All right, take care,
Anthony. Take care.
All right,
Take care, everyone.
Probably the most important thing that we've learned so far is Sylvia's. Sylvia's is the most renowned soul food restaurant in Harlem. So if you're ever up there, go check it out. She's got a great line of products that you can buy at your supermarket as well, which I love. All right, back to this particular comment. There's a bill being introduced which will affect future by Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney has introduced a Pandemic Risk Insurance Act of 2020, a federal backstop for pandemic-related business interruption insurance modeled after the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act. Makes a lot of sense that something like this would happen. We hadn't thought about terrorism insurance in a big way until after 9/11, so not surprised that we're thinking about this now. I hope that's something that that goes into place. All right, so before we wrap up today, any final thoughts from all of you folks about what you're experiencing today, about what you're experiencing in the future, and anything hopeful? Sanjay, we'll start with you. We like to end with something positive these days on our show.
Well, here's a positive. Every day, when I get our flash report in the morning, the biggest positive is, last night was the best night we had since April 1.
Wonderful.
Night before last was the best night we had since April 1. So every night has been better and better every night. So sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, I second that. I mean, I think we hit 22% bottom in the U.S. It was about 13% in Canada, going back to middle of April, and we've definitely seen a surge up from that. So on a percentage basis, if you're at 30%, up from 20, that's a pretty good increase. But we're seeing, obviously pent up demand is definitely a positive, dynamic out there for some of the leisure markets. And we're hopeful, we're lucky in Newcastle being that a lot of our portfolio is in these kind of secondary, tertiary drive-to markets. So you have some downtown urban assets. The rest of the portfolio is really starting to see some better performance and is carrying the rest. So we definitely have a tough road ahead in markets like New Orleans, Saratoga, Lexington. But all in all, there's some positive things out there.
And before you say anything, Chris, two quick things. Michelle MacArthur asked what the act was again, so I'm putting that back up here. The Pandemic Risk Insurance Act of 2020. Pandemic Risk Insurance Act of 2020. And one more question for you, Julian. Someone asked a long time ago in the feed. Can't find that comment yet. Where's the name of your company come from? Why was it chose? Why did you folks choose Newcastle Hotels back in the day?
Yeah, good question. So the company was founded by my father in 1980, and he was a lawyer and went in-house to work for a Swiss investor who had some real estate holdings, including a hotel in Wentworth by the Sea, which is on Newcastle Island, New Hampshire. And this gentleman was Swiss. He couldn't hold a liquor license, so my father had to create an entity, Newcastle Hotels, to hold that liquor license. And eventually he bought his first hotel from that gentleman and kept the Newcastle moniker. So that's where it's from, Newcastle Island, New Hampshire.
Excellent. I think the person who asked was from like Newcastle, Pennsylvania or something like that. Chris, how about your final thoughts, sir?
I guess I'll take a diversion and say that one of the things I'm hopeful about and excited about is a renewed sense of hospitality. I think as we hit the all-time tops, at the end of 19 and early 20, that we were getting super transactional with our guests and our everything going on. And I had the opportunity to be out and about a little bit this weekend with my son. Like I said, we went to a restaurant that just reopened and it was social distance, every other table. But boy, the staff was so thankful to have guests, and they just showed it, and it oozed even through their mask. You could see it in their eyes that they were bright and excited. So for me, as passionate as I am about this business, the renewed sense of hospitality would be just a huge win for us coming out of this and remembering why we do what we do. So.
Right. I absolutely love that. Gentlemen, I want to thank you all for being here today. What a great panel this was. And I loved all the comments and all that kind of great stuff. I think we're going to have all of you guys back sometime. Maybe not Chris, but everybody else we can have back. Chris, we'll see you on Tuesday. Gentlemen, hopefully we'll see you soon. Thank you so much for being here today. All right. And I will
friend.
see you later. All right, so let's wrap this up today. So I think we learned a whole lot what's going on. You can't depend on insurance companies. No, they're not going to be able to help you out at all because they're in the business to make money and take your money. But the other thing we learned is the spirit of hospitality is definitely alive. It's been rekindled. It's being reborn. And now's the opportunity for everyone out there to reinvent your service culture. How are you going to make those real meaningful connections with guests? They're open. They're ready. They want to be receptive to what you're telling them. They want to be receptive to the goodness that you could give them, those feelings of positivity that you can imbue within them. But it is up to you to rethink how to do things. Get away from that transactional bit that Chris Green was talking about. Think about what guests truly need and truly how to connect with them on that human level. That's the future of hospitality. That's what we've been doing for years and years and years. And that's the one thing that we may have forgotten about as the market rose high. So right now, as business is coming back, think about how you could get that market share. Think about how you could do that by connecting in a meaningful way with guests, not just connecting with guests, but a real, true emotional connection. Are you asking them how they feel? Are you making those personal interactions something special, something that people can rely on when they come to your hotel? It's up to you. You guys all have the power to do it, and we are going to be successful. It is going to be an amazing industry going forward, and I just love the fact that we get to talk about this every day here at 12 o'clock noon. So if that was enough for you, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. Just text the word hotel to 66866. That's the word hotel to 66866. Of course, check us out at novacancynews.com and all around the web, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, wherever you go, that's where we are. Thank you all for being here tomorrow. We got a great Feel Good Friday show. I know I'm going to be feeling good because we are going to be doing a tequila-based drink. And who doesn't like tequila? Oh, wait. College Glenn didn't like tequila too much. That made me sick all the time. But now I love it. And we're going to learn why different tequilas are really great. I'm going to make this great cocktail. And I'm looking forward to all seeing you. So for everybody, we got Sanjay, Julian, Chris, Anthony, and myself. Thanks for being here. Remember, you've only got one life, so blaze on. And thanks for checking in. We'll see you tomorrow, guys.